Hello, everybody. It's Mark back. General Washington's in Monmouth trying to figure out how to make his army a lean, mean fighting machine. General Howe is in New York and trying to figure out how he's going to explain 3 losses in 10 days to the ragtag army. I got a email the other day from a friend of mine. His name's Ben Griffin. He's a teacher up at the Bart School in Pittsfield, Mass. And Ben asked the question, were there any ladies that dressed as men soldiers and fought during the Revolutionary War? And he asked that because there was a great number of them during the Civil War. Um, and so about 80 years later when we had that war. In the Revolutionary War, there was a lot of ladies that fought, but not a lot of documented ladies that dressed as men. And probably the most famous was Deborah Sampson. And old Deborah, she was an indentured servant because she came from a very, very poor family. At 18, she became a teacher. And a couple years later, she decided she was going to join the army. And so her first attempt was in, I think, around November, December of 81, and she got caught the next day. She dressed all up in a suit and everything, and somebody recognized her and said, no, that's a woman. She tried again in May of 82, and she got all dressed up. She was a tall lady, tall, thin lady, and she bound her breasts in towels and rags and stuff so they wouldn't show. And she was accepted, and she joined under the name of Robert Shufflet, who was her brother who died, and she got away with it. And she was assigned to the Massachusetts 4th Infantry, and they were assigned to West Point. And now during this time, this is after the Battle of Yorktown, and we all think that Yorktown was when the war ended. Well, it really didn't end. There was still fighting going on right up until the treaty was signed in 83, which takes us to Deborah. She was assigned to West Point, and they would go out and they would have these skirmishes with the Loyalists and with some British troops. And one of these skirmishes that she was in, she gets shot in the head, grazed in the head, and shot in the leg. And so her sergeant, who doesn't know that she's a lady, and now she's been a year now, and she's been sleeping and eating and everything with these men, and they have no idea that she's a lady. It's amazing. I mean, how do you bathe and they don't notice? How do she slept on a mat with another soldier, and they never knew. Now they slept in their uniforms all the time. Is the only way to stay warm. But how do you survive over a year and never get caught as a woman? She was marvelous at it. And so during this battle, she gets grazed in the head, shot in the leg. Her sergeant takes her to the infirmary, and the doctor there works on her head, asks if she's hurt anyplace else, and she realizes if she says yes, he's going to look at her thigh, and then she's going to get caught. So she says no. So as she's leaving the infirmary, she grabs a little metal thing, and she goes out into the woods with her pocket knife and this little metal thing, and she takes out one bullet but can't get to the other one. And this second bullet bothers her whole life. So she got away with it. Nobody knew. It was great. So she goes back to her regiment, and they're fighting and stuff like that. And then they end up in Philadelphia, and there's a big fever the following year in 83, the summer of 83. There's a big fever that's going around, a pandemic, much like we have today with the COVID-19. But anyway, she catches this fever. A doctor is examining her and realizes this is a woman dressed in men's uniform. He takes her to his house and treats her there away from everybody else. And then she recovers, and it's September of 1783, and the doctor says, I have to turn you in. So all right, now she's been fighting all along with these guys, but she says, oh, okay, fine. The guy goes, the doctor takes her to the general, and the general says, I'm not sure what you're talking about, because it's a week before the treaty. They anticipate the treaty being signed, and so she goes back to her company, and she is mustered out as a man, as her brother Robert Shutfield, and she's honorably discharged for her service. And 10 years later, she draws a pension from the state of Massachusetts, and later from the federal government, for her service in the Revolutionary War. And there you have the story. Yes, there were ladies that dressed in uniform, fought like men, acted like men, and got away with it. So if you have any questions like that, Mr. Griffin, he zipped me a little email or a Facebook, can't remember what it was. So if you have questions, zip them off to me. I'll get the answer and we'll put them on this show. Thanks. Bye.